The biggest lies we tell ourselves in business. Hey, I'm Donnie Bovian, the CEO and founder of Success Champion Networking and author of Endless Stream Referrals. This is Growth Mode, a podcast centered all around business and growth for your company. Hanging out with me as always is Kevin Snow, the sales and automation tactician and genius. And in this episode, we're going to talk about all those little lies and the big ones that you tell yourself as you run your business.
So I'm kind of excited for this topic because as entrepreneurs, especially when you're starting out a business or when you're getting to one of those points where you're looking at pivoting or you're looking at going to that next level, there's all kinds of head trash. You have all that inner monologue going on of everything coming back to haunt you. And I know for me, the big one I always have is when I'm bringing on a new client that's outside of my normal scope. So it's a new industry, or they're much bigger and we're going to do something brand new and cool that I came up with that I've never done before. And as soon as I get that yes, and they've filled out the form and they've given me money, then I go and I automatically, it happens all the times, like, oh crap, now what? This is gonna fail miserably, and I have all that inner monologue saying, oh shit, what if I fail, and all the doubt coming in. And I think there's all these things that we tell ourselves, like, oh, I'm not good enough to do this, or things like that just really screw with an entrepreneur and a business owner's head and their mindset and are really holding them back.
Yeah, I like this. I think most people have that little gremlin sitting there whispering in their ear, I'm not good enough, I'm not strong enough, and it it's all stems for, at least I'll speak for me. Most times it stems for, like your point, from the unknown. When I don't know what's the expectation up ahead, or maybe I know the expectation, but I don't know the mechanics that are going to need to take place. I don't know the mindset for what's going to have to take place in the near future. And it's the same thing for me. It's the new big things. Usually I can envision something big like the summit, the Badass Business Summit, or maybe a new book. But there's things like, we're talking a lot about NFTs right now and trying to figure how to get in that place. And I'm literally in a state of overwhelm, trying to put the NFT stuff together and do something Success Champions wise, because I want to make sure that if we're going to launch something along those lines, it's going to be something that's ongoing and permanent and is going to bring a ton of value to all involved. But there's so many moving parts that I don't fully understand and wrap my head around, that I feel like that I will break a lot of things bigger than we traditionally do to make this work. And it's forcing me to not let that little gremlin whoop my ass as we continue to build this out and continue to bring conversations in. But I think all of us get to that point when there's something new, unknown, or there's something bigger than we've done in the past. It's going to be a mental freaking, fight. But there are those people that just thrive on that stuff, and then they have head trash in
So,
other
do you think
arenas.
the personality of the person has an impact on the amount or type of head trash that they have?
I do. I think that your high D's are, because we're more traditionally risk tolerant and are willing to do a lot more stupid, crazy things where, you know, your eyes are probably the craziest risk takers of the bunch. They're just the quickest ones to throw in the towel when things get tough. Your C's are the slowest ones to take a risk because they'll spend too much time calculating. And your S just wants to go along with the flow most times and are completely risk adverse. They're actually the worst risk takers of the bunch. And I think, given your personality traits, you're going to battle your own demons, if you will, there. But I also think how you're built in general, outside of your like disc profile, how you were raised. Were you raised around a ton of money? That's going to give you a whole different risk talent, ways to handle risk. Were you born in a very impoverished lifestyle? That's going to give you a whole different thought process. If you're running a business, were you raised around entrepreneurs? That's going to give you a whole different set of things versus somebody like you and I, who, well, I mean, you were kind of raised around entrepreneurs, but I wasn't raised around entrepreneurs at all. So there's going to be different head trash that pops up based on your upbringing as
Yeah,
well.
I think for me with the analytical piece, that's where the head trash with the new client comes in a lot. Is uh, overthinking how my skills and my knowledge can be applied, and if it's going to be effective when it's applied, and it's almost more of a fear, almost kind of a fear of failure, I'm going to say, as opposed to, when I really think about it, as opposed to, can I actually do this or not? So, from the C standpoint, for some reason that's been like the topic of all my recent podcasts. Everyone's like, all right, so talk about you being an introvert in sales. It's I'm like, all right, I'm poster child. But I think for a lot of us, it's really,
Own it,
I'm going
dude.
with it. I'm having fun with it. But I think that's a lot of it is we get too over analytical about our own selves, and we get, I think, to the point of being almost critical. And that's the huge portion
Yeah,
of the stupid shit that we tell ourselves.
absolutely. And the what I see, at least from the introverted C and S side of things, is it's almost as if you guys are looking for the next step. Like, there should be a
I mean,
roadmap almost
there's
to
not.
things going, and I think. And so when there's not, that's when I think you guys are battling it the worst. Because I like the creation side of things. For me, I mean, if I'm thinking about when I try something new, it's not the how's it going to get it done. I deal with more, is it, am I personally good enough to be the person to do the thing? I've and I always have to go back to, and I know we're not talking about, ways to fix it, but for me, I always have to go back to, there's nothing that I've ever done that I thought I couldn't handle, that after I got in and did the thing, that I didn't feel like, man, that was easy. Right? Because every time that you end up doing it, you get through it and you look back on all the things you did, and you naturally like, oh, well, that really wasn't all that bad. It's everything leading up to
Yeah.
said issue or thing that, at least, that
Well, and
kicks
I
my
think from
ass.
both of our military standpoints, there are a lot of different training missions or things that we want, and they're like, oh, this is just going to suck. This is going to be horrible. And then you get done, it's like, huh, that was actually kind of fun. And and it was like,
Yeah.
I'm cool. I'm glad I got to do it. And I think that mindset, that becomes a shift in mindset for us as leaders as we went through the military side, to that it's really beneficial in the civilian side. That whole idea of, all right, so I know when I look at this, I'm going to be overly negative, and being able to recognize that, and then be able to take that step back and basically tell yourself, shut the fuck up. Why are you saying these things? It's not actually going to be this bad.
Yeah, and I would add into that, I think sometimes, it's not going to be bad, but it's also the playing it safe when doing the said thing. Because I have a tendency that when I do something, instead of going as big as it could be, I go sometimes as big as I think I can handle. And sometimes that's even subconsciously, and in doing so, something, I don't know, I can't even think of an example, but something that could be a lot bigger get downplayed to a lot smaller, more minuscule thing. But I even think that comes back to, I mean, look how you and I train. If you and I are going to train a class or a session, you're going to build out an entire program step by step. Here's how you do. Probably put together a PowerPoint, and it may get done like the week before your presentation, but it's going to be a well thought out, well oiled process that you're going to teach people. I'm going to show up the day of and go, what the hell am I speaking about? And I think that plays a lot into all these voices that pop up in our head as we're running and building our businesses because of, how we're wired and what we're doing with that wiring. What other voices do you think people are battling as they are running their businesses and putting things
Well,
out there so
I
they can
think one of
grow?
the voices that people get, especially if you are more of a product based company, and I guess we even do that in the solution side a little bit, but no one will ever buy this, or this, this isn't a good idea. And it's not even so much the, well, you can't do this. It's like, well, no one else is going to like this. And you see this a lot, especially in the corporate world, where people won't give ideas because they already think they suck. And you never know who's sitting
Right?
on this world changing idea that they just popped in their head. It's like, well, what if we did this? And then it's like, oh my god, that's the holy grail of whatever. But people are afraid to say it because they're afraid it's not good enough, or that it's going to fail. They don't want to. They don't want to.
Well, I
They
think,
don't want to be the person who came up with the, oh, oh, you're that guy. You came up with this idea. You're dumb.
yeah. Or you got the person that just takes a look at another person or a company and is like, oh,
Yeah.
they'd never buy from me. They'd never make a purchase for my stuff. Same type of concept. I think some of the others is the I won't be able to handle the workload. I know that gets me every once in a while. I'll think about even Success Champion networking and think along the lines of, okay, so we have 1,000 chapters across the US. How much work is that going to be? And I have to instantly tell myself, how many people will we have on the team to help manage and maintain all of that? I won't be managing 1,000 chapters. I'll be managing 20, 25, maybe 50 people, which is a cool trick to sometimes look at the big things that sound monstrous and go, this is how you can bring it down to a terms that you can wrap your head
I
around.
th- I think part of the voice, especially for business owners who are trying to scale and they want to grow something big, is the voices that, oh, I can't do this. It's going to be too much work. All comes from not actually understanding where they're trying to get to. And what you just said
Agreed.
about the, oh, when we have 1,000 chapters, oh my god, this could be so much work. Oh wait, I'm going to have people. You know, you need to have that vision of what the organization looks like and have that made up org chart even that says, hey, here's all the positions we're going to have. And I've done this with other clients and in other businesses where we had the org chart and then my name was in everything, or the owner's name was in everything. And then as he hired people, it's like, all right, I have someone doing this now. And now, oh, look, now we have another new name doing this thing. And you just keep taking those off. And it now becomes this realistic thing for them because they understand, all right, so here's how I'm actually going to handle 1,000 chapters, or here's how I'm going to handle $10 million in revenue a month. And because I have this. So I think a lot of it is just because people don't know where they want to get to.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think people don't think in who versus what enough, because I think a lot of people are thinking about, oh my God, look at all this stuff, which is the what, versus thinking about, wow, how do I build this so others can do it? You know, we tell a lot of the business owners as they're building out their sales processes, it's don't build the sales process for you. Build the sales process as if you're hiring somebody. How would they have to hire for this situation for you? And watch how you transition and reframe what you're talking about and thinking about. So, and I think for most part, people need to start listening to the things that are popping in their head when they're doing something and start questioning why those things are popping in their head and trying to understand where they come from. Is there truth in it, or is it some sort of fear just popping up that is holding them back? Because another one we didn't talk about is I don't think we talked about it, is the fear of what other
Yeah.
people think about you. That's what keeps people from prospecting, keeps people from doing sales. The
Yeah,
likes.
it almost it's like business owners are back in high school. And all the fears that you had
Yeah.
as a high school kid, am I going to fit in? What are people going to think about me? Am I going to look dumb? Am I, what happens if I fail? All those fears are now just moved over into a whole different area of our life.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, now I have to conquer them again. What the hell? Haven't I gone through this already?
Right.
But
Yeah.
it's in high school, it stems from the same thing, though. It's all the unknown. You're thrown into this social circle
Yep.
that you have no idea how to navigate. And when people launch a business, very few of us came out of college with a business degree with any understanding of how to run a business. So now we're back in that whole
Very few of us came. Very
get
few
this.
of us
Yep.
went to college. So let's
Yeah.
put that out there as
Um,
well.
so now you're in this whole new paradigm where you're like, I have no idea what to do here and how I'm supposed to behave and and you're completely self-conscious again.
Yep, 100%. And I think that if people will get more cognizant of what they're thinking about, how they're responding to a situation, for me, it's reverting back to a similar situation and going, okay, we've been here in something similar before. We got through that. We'll get through this. And remembering most times that when you get on the back end of something, you're going to look back and either realize it wasn't all that hard or you learned a better, faster way to do than how you originally set out to do it. And I think that helps out tremendously. So this week, we don't have any member questions. We got more member statements, which is kind of fun. A couple of things they threw on the table that are really good topics to talk about. Uh, so you want to start
Sure.
with those,
The
Kevin?
first one is from
Those
Hannah Chapman, and she is a president of our newest chapter in Cincinnati, the Queen City Charisma.
Queen
Yeah,
City, not Charm City. I
we're
made
both
that
very
mistake.
careful now when we throw out the name and not use the wrong one. So Hannah says that one of the lines that she hears people say about being a business owner is, "If you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life." Do you want to take this one first?
That is such, yeah. Uh, and Hannah's with X2 Wealth Planning. Sorry, I was looking up her company really quick. Yeah, so here's the thing. I think anybody who says the statement, do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life, needs to be punched square in the mouth because they've never done their passion as hard as they should be to turn into a business. Because most people, if you take and do your passion, turn it into business, you'll probably end up hating your passion. But two, man, let me tell you, I thought I worked hard as an employee, but I work 12 billion times harder running a business. And I do love doing this. I have a blast doing this. But my God, do I work my ass off. Kevin puts in a ridiculous amount of hours. I just think it's ignorant to say you won't work it. And I know what they're trying to say with that famous quote and saying, but I don't give a shit. If you're building a business, it's going
I
to be a
think
lot
the
of work.
phrase needs to be rewritten and more along the lines of, if you're going to work this hard, you need to love what you do. because
I
because
like that.
look at my dad. He was a farmer. He loves farming. There's nothing he wanted to do other than that. And he did it up until the last possible moment that he could before he retired because that's what he likes. But I remember nights where he came home and he got in from the field and he ate a little dinner, showered, and then just went to bed or fell asleep in the recliner because he worked his ass off. And he'll be the first one to tell you, yeah, we
Yep.
work really hard. And it's the same with any business owner. They're going to work hard to make it successful. It's going to be, it's not always enjoyable, but they're willing to sacrifice it because they believe in what they're doing.
Yeah, for sure. I go back to what our buddy Donald Dotson said, and he said, "Don't turn your passion into a business. Get passionate about whatever you're doing." And I think that's huge. It just goes right along with what you just said. If you can get passionate about what you do, doesn't mean it's not going to be work. It's just going to suck a little less. The second statement up there was from Kim Fodry with the Intuitive Bookkeeper, and she's in the Atlanta. Shit, what is Atlanta's chapter?
The Atlanta chapter is the Atlanta Wolfpack.
Oh yeah, the Atlanta Wolfpack chapter. So, and she's with the Atlanta Wolfpack chapter, and she says, and I'm gonna let Kevin answer this one because this one he battles with sometimes. I can do it all and be successful is something that business owners often tell themselves. They don't delegate because nobody can do it as good as I can. How would they handle that, Kevin?
It's suck it up and just work harder. Who needs sleep? You can sleep when you die. No.
No, that's what
No.
they
Oh,
do.
oh,
That's what they
what are we
do.
supposed to do? Not what we actually do. No,
Right,
it's
right.
really for me. It's processes, and what I've had to learn is I'll have my internal processes, but I have to document them, and you have to be able to communicate those processes and what the expected outcome is. So that's usually my biggest issue when I delegate stuff is I have a really clear picture of how it should be, but I don't communicate it effectively. So then it doesn't get done right. So then I end up going at it anyway, and then I say this delegation thing sucks, and I stop doing it, and then I have to redo it all again anyway. So it's really key if you're going to delegate is you need to understand the processes and you have to have them in place so you can show the person what right looks like and then have be able to communicate to them what those outcomes need to be. So what the end stage should be, and then trust them to do it. You know, when I train and work with new lieutenants in the military, we always teach the whole concept of trust but verify, and that hey, go tell your NCO, your sergeant, what needs to be done, and trust him that he'll get it done, but then verify, go back and check, and make corrections, course corrections, so but let them do their thing. And that's usually the hardest thing for business owners when they delegate is to completely let go and let the other person do stuff because it's now impacting their baby and it's going to impact what they're trying to grow, and and that's really important to them.
I was thinking through this as you were talking about it, and the things I don't like doing, I'm really good at getting off my plate and getting somebody else doing. It's the things that I enjoy doing that I suck at delegating. And I think that's where I get myself in trouble because, like you, I'm terrible at communicating what I want done. I really want people to read my fucking mind and just see it the way I see it and make it happen. And I think there are certain people that can do that. I think you and I have kind of always intuitively worked that way, together. And I think a lot of people are just hoping somebody can come up and read their mind. So I think to your point, it's a lot of that. Okay, how do we document this? What's the checks and balance? What's the leniency in this? How far can they go before we yank them back in and go, okay, this is the way
Yeah,
we should be
and I
doing
think
things.
for you and us, you and me, it's we've kind of hindered each other's development in that area because we've intuitively been able to understand what the other one's thinking, and then we will
Yeah.
automatically do and then we could do this, and then we feed off each other that way. Whereas not everyone's able to understand
Yep.
us. It's just shocking to me. I don't know why
Yep.
they can't just do it exactly what we want the first time. But and so we haven't, now that we're bringing on team members, we're having to focus on that a lot more, and figuring out, all right, so how do we effectively delegate this? We just had this with one of our team members. Are like, well, it's not really their fault because we didn't actually tell them that. And they didn't realize that that
Very
was what our
true.
expectations were. But now they know, and they're going gangbusters. So it's for us learning what we're saying and how it actually matches to what we think we're saying and where the differences are.
Absolutely. So, fun episode. Hope you guys got a little bit out of this. If you got any tips or tricks, advice out of this, do us a favor and please tell one other person how to subscribe to the show. Means a lot to us. We have a lot of fun doing this. We appreciate all the emails and messages we get off of these. I got an email the other day saying, "Man, that was the exact message I needed to hear." So thanks for that. So we appreciate those guys. So have fun. Love you, mean it. See you. Bye.